Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I very welcome my friends and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button, and please do follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Sunday's edition of the DC Daily. And today we are remembering The Dark Knight, which I think is 12 years old yesterday. Anyway, the mathematics don't matter. Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, starring Christian Bale and Heath Ledger, is the sequel to my favourite Batman film, which is Batman Begins. I am going to come clean and say I believe that Batman Begins is a superior movie to Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight. Just my opinion. But let's talk about The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is a very, very, very good film. Of course, it's a very dark film. It's a very gritty film. But it really tells the story of how the Joker wants to bring everybody else down to his level. What he's trying to do is create an experiment here. He wants to prove that you and I are not good. In fact, he wants to prove that we are just as fucked up and insane as he is. So the question you have to ask is, does Christopher Nolan actually believe we're all as messed up as each other? Of course he does, because we are. We see a lot of virtue signalling now on social media, on the internet, people pretending they're holier than thou, people pretending that they're morally superior to everybody else. But having moral values doesn't make you morally superior, does it? As we all know. The truth is, all our crap stinks the same. Well, it depends what you eat. Mine stinks of doner kebabs, Greek kebabs, cola, beer, and other stuff that I don't want to go into. We don't want to talk about that, do we? Anyway, the point being that Christopher Nolan writes a film that there's this... Basically, The Dark Knight is a social experiment. So the social experiment is by this insane, villainous supervillain, the Joker. Now, he loves Batman. Not in a sexual way, not as a friend, but how he sees the Joker's always had an obsession with Batman. But this one's different, and he says it best of all in this movie. He goes, I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? The point is, you are my equal. We can play a real chess match, a battle of wills, a battle of intellect. I can't do that with anybody else. I want to keep you around. I want to prove to you that these people will drop you like a hot brick once you've done their bidding for them. And this is great commentary on the legal system, because right now, because of Black Lives Matter, because of George Floyd, the legal system, especially in America, the policing system, is on trial. And it's on trial by Christopher Nolan in The Dark Knight, because David Goyer co-wrote this film, as he did the other two versions of the Dark Knight trilogy, right? Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. And what Goyer loves to do is take real-world commentary, but he takes important commentary. We're not talking about holding a door for a woman or staring down at her cleavage for too long. We're talking about something that's so important to the world that we live in. And it's done in such a very clever way. So, in fact, we are talking about a social experiment with The Dark Knight. What you know, these are the differences between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Now, Batman Begins has Bale, front and centre, performing this character study of Bruce Wayne. Not of Batman, of Bruce Wayne before he becomes Batman. He proves what he has to become. We see why he becomes what he becomes. And it really is comparable to Todd Phillips' Joker movie. That's why I love Batman Begins, because it's a character study on Bruce Wayne. Before he becomes Batman, we know him inside and out. And it's a brilliant film. That's why I prefer it to The Dark Knight. But that doesn't take away what a brilliant film and what a brilliant sequel The Dark Knight is. Of course it's overrated. All great movies are overrated. It doesn't hurt that the film made over $1 billion. Of course the film was going to make over $1 billion. This was a brand new version of the Joker. That's why Todd Phillips' Joker movie made over $1 billion, because it's about the Joker. The Joker is a very, very successful, popular character. I think that's one of the reasons that, despite all the negative reviews, Suicide Squad made a lot of money. Because of the Joker, people wanted to see what kind of Joker we were going to get. Unfortunately, we didn't get too much of the Joker in David Ayer's theatrical cut of the Suicide Squad, if indeed it was even the man's cut, which I have my doubts. But the Joker sells tickets. There's no question about that. And so you've got this really different kind of Joker. He hasn't his plan. The thing is, he says he hasn't got a plan, but he has. And it's a very intelligent plan. He wants to bring everyone down to his level. Because to him, it's a bit like when you go on Twitter, right? Like, I'm an ordinary guy. I've got some mental health issues, right? And so I go on Twitter, right? And I see all these verifieds acting like they're superior to everyone else. They virtue signal. And I'm just an ordinary guy. I just say things how I see it, right? I quote tweet people. I say things how I think. You know, I'm a commoner. I'm a peasant, basically, right? So when I see these people pretending they're superior to everybody else, it really winds me up, and I just can't keep my mouth shut. And this is exactly like what Heath Ledger's Joker does in The Dark Knight. He wants to bring all the virtue signalers down to his level. And who is the biggest virtue signaler in The Dark Knight? Who do you think it is? It's Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent is this white knight, good looking, wearing a suit. He's bringing all the criminal fraternity down. But what is he? Is he a good man? Is his heart in the right place? Can he bring him down? Well, look what the Joker does to him. Look what he does. He makes him into Two-Face. Of course, he doesn't know he's going to become Two-Face. That means he would be very clever. But he does. By making him Two-Face, by killing the woman that he loves, what he basically does is, he then, Two-Face, goes out to get revenge. He becomes the Joker. He becomes like every single other peasant when you take everything away from them that they love. 1 minute he's this white knight, then he's like you and me when you have a go at us on Twitter. Oh, I'm going to get you, yeah. Remember when you posted this tweet? Yeah, I'm going to screenshot it. That's what Harvey Two-Face does in The Dark Knight. He becomes like everybody else, and the Joker does that to him. This is very, very important commentary, especially in today's day and age, where everyone wants to pretend they're good people. I don't know why everyone wants to say they're good. There's no such thing as good people. What does being a good person even mean? That you go to church every Sunday? Well, some people don't want to go to church. Does that make us bad people? Some of us don't want to believe in religion or gods. Does that make us bad people? Same with the people who do. Just because you're married with children, does that make you better to someone who's single without children, right? Of a certain age? No. But this is the kind of world we live in. The superiority complex, right? And this is what the residents of Gotham have got. And this is what Harvey Dent has, this superiority complex. And the Joker wants to bring them all down to his level. And it doesn't take very much, as he says in the film. And this is the brilliance of this movie. Now, for me, the negative of this movie is we don't get as much of Christian Bale face time as we did in Batman Begins. And that's somewhat disappointing to me. And that's why I will always prefer Batman Begins, because Bale is such a good actor. He's more Batman in this film, which I get, which is great. And the element of what happens to Bruce, right? When the Joker does kill Rachel and everything with the letter she leaves. And look, Rachel isn't in love with Bruce anymore. She wants to be with Harvey. But Bruce can't accept this. And he thinks if he stops being Batman, he can become the man she wants him to be. But there's a lesson from Nolan and Goyer here. You can only be what you be. And if someone doesn't want to be with you because of who you are, because you're not the person you once was, then you shouldn't be with them. So that's a little bit of commentary there as well. Look, this is a very, very good film, and it's written in a very core intellectual way. It's one of the most intellectually written comic book movies of all time. For me, it's not the best. It's not my favourite comic book movie. I've got my favourites. I think that Batman Begins is one of my favourites. I think the Wonder Woman movie of 2017 is another favourite. Superman the movie, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman. I think they're great movies. Now, I think Infinity War and Captain America the Winter Soldier are great movies. They will be on that list as well. But not above any DC movies, by the way. So they're the ones I really like. I even love Batman Returns. A lot of people don't like Batman Returns. I think Batman Returns is a great movie. And there's a lot of commentary with the Penguin, by the way, if you bother to take more notice of what they're trying to say in that film. So there's a lot of great CBMs. And so I noticed yesterday that the movie analyst, the box office analyst, Scott Mendelson, was talking. He had an article about The Dark Knight. Now, I tried to read it, and I did record a version of this video where I read it out, but I just couldn't. It was just too ridiculous. Now, he calls it a disappointingly grim movie. He says it's one of the best out there, but he calls it a disappointingly grim. Isn't it interesting that Infinity War and Captain America the Winter Soldier are two of the most grimmest, grittiest MCU movies? They're the only dark movies, but they're also the best ones. That's interesting, isn't it? But I don't think a comic book movie has to be dark or bright. It can be whatever you want it to be as a creative, as long as it's well written and well put together and entertaining and compelling in a way. It can even be funny. It's up to you what you do with it. There's no rules. But the problem was, two movies came out in quick succession of each other. One was The Dark Knight and one was Joss Whedon's Avengers Assemble. Now, when The Dark Knight came out, everyone's going, yeah, this is it. Every CBM should be dark, right? And then they said, oh my God, Avengers Assemble. Everything should be bright and, family friendly, so you don't know where you are. But this is the media, and this is mainstream comic book movie kind of fandom and critical kind of media as well. It has to be one way or the other. That's not the way it should be. And this is why Jim Lee's and Walter Hamada's multiverse strategy is such genius. Now they can do any standalone comic book movie they want, and no one can have a go at them. And they're not hampered by the same thing that Feige hampered himself with in the first 2 or 3 phases of the MCU, which was everything has to be interconnected, everything has to look the same, right? So they're free to do that now. They're free to do that. And they can still kind of unify everything together in a Crisis on Infinite Earths. Eventually, a proper one, right? Which will be amazing on film with a film budget. And I'm sure we'll get there. So now they can do whatever they want through the multiverse strategy. So The Dark Knight, of course, is a wonderful movie. It's one of the best movies ever made. There's no question about that. There's no doubt about that. But it's not the best. And certainly not, in my opinion, by the way. Not in your opinion, my opinion. I'd love to know what you've got to say so we can have a little debate. But the point is, I love it, but it's not better than Batman Begins. Not in my eyes. Batman Begins is a character study on Bruce Wayne. And I think that's brilliant. And it gives Christian Bale time to shine for the whole 2.5 hours. And I like that. As I say, it's a really good film, The Dark Knight. And I loved the whole thing. That what the Joker predicted to Batman, that they would turn on him. And they did. Once they thought he killed Harvey Dent, they turn on him. They don't think, hang on, what's going on here? Batman wouldn't do this. They don't even think that. They turn on him. That's what people do. You see it on Twitter all the time. It happened to me this week on Twitter, right? One argument with one person. Everyone started unsubbing to my YouTube channel, yeah. And everyone started unsubbing to or unfollowing on my Twitter account. Right? This is what happens. One thing, one wrong move, and everybody turns on you, right? I'm okay with that, by the way, because I can only be me. I can't just say the things you want me to say. I'm sorry. Wrong channel, wrong bloke, right? But the point being, you can be high on the hog 1 minute, and this YouTube channel's never been high on the hog, by the way. But the point is, people can just turn on you very, very quickly. And I think The Dark Knight really does display it. 12 years since it was released. A great movie, a great CBM. Christopher Nolan is an absolute genius. And bring on Tenet, of course. Let's talk about the Joker. In the 60s, we had Cesar Romero's Joker in the Batman TV series. We've had Mark Hamill's version of the animated Joker, another great version. Then we had Jack Nicholson's brilliant one and done version in Tim Burton's Batman. Then we had Heath Ledger's Joker, which of course we've already discussed. And then we had Jared Leto's in Suicide Squad. I want to talk about Jared's in a minute. And then we had Joaquin Phoenix's in the Joker movie. What's that? 4 versions of the Joker, 5 versions of the Joker. Doesn't really matter. We've had some, I think they're all brilliant, by the way. Some I prefer to others, but I think they're brilliant. So when you look at Cesar Romero's version of the Joker, it's made for primetime television. He's crazy, but in a kind of light and fluffy way, but it's done so well. And he certainly wants to kill people, and he certainly wants to be a criminal, but he's great. Cesar Romero was a great actor. And then you kind of go to Jack Nicholson's version of the Joker, which was absolutely darkly insane. This guy is absolutely crazy. He starts off as a young 17-year-old hoodlum who kills the Waynes. Yes, in that version, the Joker killed the Waynes, or Jack, as they call him. Is it Jack? It's Jack, isn't it? So, and then we get the whole iconic hymn of him being, falling over into the vat of acid, which is from the comics. But people were a bit pissed off that it was Jack, a.k.a. the Joker, that killed the Waynes. I didn't mind so much because I think it helped the movie and it helped the story to connect between Bruce, Batman, and the Joker. So I liked that. The whole, if you made me, basically you made me. And you made me when you killed my parents. And then the Joker makes a whole joke of it. So I love Nicholson's Joker. It's absolute nuts. And then you've got Heath Ledger's Joker, which is the one everyone still talks about. And, of course, I would never have cast him as the Joker. I didn't see that coming at all. None of us did. Nobody applauded it. But, I mean, to talk about Heath Ledger, you really have to go back to the Patriot movie starring Mel Gibson, because Heath Ledger played Mel's son. And in all the press tours, Mel would bore everyone about how Heath Ledger is the new Marlon Brando. And he was a method actor, and it turned out to be true. So well done, Mel, for giving him a chance. Fellow Australian, by the way. Very tragic what happened to Heath. And then with Heath Ledger being such a popular Joker in the mainstream, Jared Leto, one of the great actors, came in to play the Joker in David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Unfortunately, they cut that movie to bits, and we're still fighting for the air cut of Suicide Squad to see, his full vision and to see more Joker. There is an extended cut of Suicide Squad where you do see a bit more Joker, so that's kind of cool. It's not in 4K though; you can only get it on Blu-ray, which is a shame. I was watching that yesterday, by the way, because I'm having these DCEU binge-a-thons at the moment. Excuse me. Frog in my throat, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's continue. And so as I was watching this yesterday, I was thinking this. Jared Leto's Joker is basically based off the New 52 Joker. And this is a very different Joker that we've ever seen in live action. He's got tattoos. He looks different. He acts different. He laughs. He's a little bit less insane, a little bit more intelligent. And he's a gangster. That's what he is. And the problem is with the mainstream audiences and the people who talk about comic book movies, they're very set in their ways. They don't like change. They weren't willing to give this version of the Joker a chance. It's not that Jared Leto's Joker is bad. It's that it's different. And I think if we actually gave this person a chance to do his thing, and I can't wait to see the air cut with the full kind of cut of Jared's Joker and whole performance, because that's going to be great. David did admit that he felt that he should have made Joker the villain. I think that's what we all felt. I think maybe Enchantress is a great character, but maybe the wrong fit for Suicide Squad. I liked her. I think she did a good job as a villain, because mainly this film was about the group, the Suicide Squad. And by the way, isn't Viola Davis born to play Amanda Waller? Amanda Waller, I mean, I've been reading her in the comics for years. She's a brilliant character. And I don't think anyone could have given Amanda Waller the menace that Viola did. Brilliant. But getting back to the Joker, the bits that we did see, by the way, the theatrical version of Suicide Squad and the extended cut are still very good movies. They are. It's not a Justice League 2017 here, but it was wrong that they cut the man's movie down and they cut, Jared's performance down. So it's very difficult to judge Jared's Joker until we see the full version. Now, in terms of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, this is an Elseworld Joker. This is just telling, well, as far as we know, although they've kind of swayed if they're going to do any more, maybe a one-and-done movie, but it's an Elseworld story. And this really holds the commentary of mental health and how the world treats people with mental health problems. This is a man who goes to see a psychiatrist every week who needs to see her to get his meds. That's the way they did it in the 80s. They take that away from him. But he's the only carer for his mother. I read an article on Heroic Hollywood yesterday saying that people are still complaining. It's one of the most complained about movies. But when you read the article, it actually says 20 out of 180 people complain. Wow, that's a lot of complaints. Not. And all the people who complained about the movie before they saw it, that was the crazy thing about this film. It was seen by some idiots that this was an excuse for men to go out and kill people and hurt people. Of course, it wasn't. This was a commentary on mental health and the way we treat people and the way the government underfunds it. It's funny when we talk about safe cinemas, safe theatres. Who's screaming, save the psychiatrists, save the shrinks so they can help mentally ill people, save the mentally ill? No, let's save theatres and cinemas. Much more important, isn't it? So this film is not just telling a Joker origin story, it's making a very serious commentary about mental health disorder. And it does it really well. It's a very important movie. And although it's inspired by Taxi Driver, it's also very different to Taxi Driver. I feel that Arthur Fleck is very different to the character that Robert De Niro plays in Taxi Driver. Although they've got some kind of, I suppose, similarities, they're done in two very different ways. They just aesthetically look the same. Because obviously, Todd Phillips is a big fan of Taxi Driver. And it's a great film, of course it is. But the point is that these are different versions of the Joker. And they're all great. But people start doing all this. This generation is obsessed with rankings. Who's the best Joker? It's always Heath Ledger. It's always Heath Ledger. I wouldn't say I've got a best Joker. I don't think I look at the Joker and say, well, he's my favourite or that's my favourite. I think Cesar Romero is great. I think we haven't even really spoken about Mark Hamill's Joker, which is absolutely brilliant. And then you've got Heath Ledger, you've got Joaquin Phoenix, and obviously you've got the brilliant version in Tim's Batman movie. I forgot his surname already, and I said it at the top of the show, didn't I? Tim Burton's Batman movie, Jack Nicholson's Batman, right? So you've got all these different versions, and it's difficult for me to pick a favourite one. It's like when people start attacking Man of Steel or Superman the movie, whatever side they're on. It's kind of, there's no, it's futile. That's the word I'm looking for. Trouble looking for my words today. So I don't have a favourite Joker, but the Dark Knight movie does remind me we have been very, very lucky with Jokers, live-action versions of the Joker. In fact, we've been blessed. One of my favourite moments from Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice is the moment when Superman walks into the Capitol building. And obviously Holly Hunter's senator is talking, and then you expect that Superman would say something wonderful maybe, something inspirational. He doesn't get the chance. Now, a lot of Batman vs Superman's critics are very critical of this moment. I think we all would have liked to have hear Superman say something. But the point is, it's not the time yet. It's not the time for Superman to prove he's a great guy. He's a great superhero. That will come in Zack Snyder's Justice League, maybe in season 1, 2 or 3 or whatever. But eventually he will address the world. But he's not Superman yet. We're still on Superman Begins territory. And that goes for Man of Steel and BVS. He's not Superman yet. He's still learning. But he will become Superman. But he's still got to fight Darkseid. He's still got to overcome all of these kind of, things in his way. And then, I suppose that's his training, really. Everything that he went through, Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And once he's done that, he then earns the right to be proper Superman, where he can address the world and inspire everyone. Snyder always had that plan, that eventually he will become the Superman we know and love. But right now, he's still Superman in training. He's still got a mission. We have Man of Steel, and then he starts trying to become Superman, the dream that his father had for him, right? Protecting people. Then it all goes wrong, and he ends up dead. But then he's brought back by Darkseid, And this is the greatest challenge of his very short life as a hero. But he's not there yet. If you're a Bible reader, and I'm not, by the way, but someone told me about this story, how Jesus has to spend a certain amount of time in the desert to prove himself. And this is what the DCEU and this whole arc of Superman in the DCEU, this is his test. And once he passes these tests, that's when he becomes Superman. That's when he can address the world. And that's when we can see him in the adventures as Superman that we know and love. It's very, very similar to Smallville. If you look at what Snyder does, there's a lot of similarities to Smallville. Now, of course, Smallville was a low-budget TV show. It couldn't do some of the stuff that Snyder's been able to do. But he does love Smallville, it's obvious. Because what Jor-El did on Smallville, played or voiced by Terrence Stamp, was that he gives Clark trials. Now, his trials are living in Smallville, having to fight kryptonite-infected people, right? Everything he goes through with Lex and Lionel and Lana, these are all his trials. Everything is his trials until he finally puts on the suit in the series finale back in 2011, right, when the show finished. So Clark has all these trials through Smallville. And Clark in the DCEU has all these trials. His trials are battling Zod, yeah, being the hero the world needs him to become. And then he can address the world. Then he can be the Superman. So that plan's there. But mainstream audiences are just not patient enough these days. But if you're patient now, Zack Snyder will give you the Superman you all know and love. You just have to have faith. Comment down below. Like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with more DC Daily. See you again soon.